Here we are on our summer series of the KeyMaster, and today we've got Jiannis Papadakis and myself, Mr. Sven Rajala, to discuss BYOK, or in other words, bring your own key. So Yanni, why would I even want to think about bringing my own key? What is that even in context to?
Yeah, I mean,
what is it?
What is bring your own key? Maybe one step back. HSMs, hardware security modules, are built to securely generate, host, and safeguard key material, right? Sensitive keys.
Hopefully.
What goes hand in hand with it is the fact that if you configure or generate a key material in the proper way, if you want, or as it was at least initially thought of, then you immediately end up in a vendor lock-in, because you cannot get your keys out of one HSM type or model into any kind of other HSM coming from a different vendor. So that's the one aspect to that.
So you'd have to pick your vendor very wisely, because you're going to have a long-term relationship whether you like it or not. There's no divorce.
And long-term is the key word here, because whenever we talk PKI, we talk long-term, right? I mean, when you bring up a root CA, then you are probably thinking about
25, 30 years in the past?
12 years probably. In the past, it was even longer, but now definitely something like
15, 20 these
15,
days.
20 at the minimum. So out of this come two questions. How can I get, let's say, off the specific HSM vendor or off the specific HSM model for whatever reason? But also, is it possible if I redeploy or migrate my PKI into a more modern platform, because all of a sudden I have a whole bunch of new use cases which my current platform does not support?
Meaning I might want to go to the cloud.
Or to the cloud. How can I actually do that? And there is where this whole concept of bring your own key comes in. So basically, how can I kind of migrate is not always the right word, my key material into,
or control the key material. How do I own my key but be able to use it in the cloud?
Exactly. And in the context of the cloud, all the HSM vendors offering, or the cloud providers offering an HSM service as part of their cloud offering, have come up with this bring your own key, in the sense of having a mechanism in place, a secure mechanism, cryptographically secure mechanism in place, which would allow you to export a key from an existing HSM on-prem in a secure way and move it over to a different HSM.
So essentially export it wrapped and then import it, and then the HSM unwraps it there and puts it into the cloud part.
And wrapping is exactly the right word here, because for those of you who are a little bit deeper into the PKI CS11 API or standard when it comes to hardware security modules, when you generate a key object within an HSM, you have certain attributes to set. Between others, you can set the attributes in a way that would allow you to wrap this key with another key that you can import into the HSM, and in that way export this sensitive key in a secure way out of this HSM, but at the same time in a way which is kind of standard, like in a container which you could then import into any other HSM. So this takes the vendor lock-in aspect away in this approach.
So when you're generating keys, you need to make sure you definitely set an export flag when you generate, or the attribute to be exportable of the key at generation time.
To be exportable, but that's exactly the big...
what happens if I didn't do that? Could I do that afterwards?
No. I mean, in the context of PKI CS11, you can always harden the policy around a key object, but you can never soften the policy in the sense that you start with a non-exportable key and then you can suddenly decide to change the flags on the specific key. So basically, you would have to generate a new key with new attributes.
Which could be very devastating to your PKI if you were already established too on that and you wanted to move.
Absolutely.
So it could be like, nope, you're stuck.
Absolutely. Nevertheless, always balance the trade-off between this exportability, let's say, of your key material, and if you really are willing to take upon this certain risk, because there is always a risk attached to it. So once a key is wrapped in a standard format and can be exported from an HSM, you should be looking at other security measures on top of it, like a 4 eyes principle, multi-factor authentication, to make sure that this wrapped key can only be exported under really very strict procedures, so that you make sure that it doesn't end up anywhere else besides at the target HSM where you want to import.
Avoiding insider threat or any malicious use of it, that it could be compromised.
Exactly.
Which should be very business damaging for obvious reasons. Okay, so interesting. Then, I mean, you could also consider with that too, I guess, is that, do you want to start new, like Greenfield if you were in cloud, or just in keeping on-prem? So there's kind of a decision too of, if I was, let's say I had my key generated exportable, and then I wanted to go to cloud, but there's that kind of decision to make there too, whether should I do bring your own key, or should I just start fresh in green over in cloud from that kind of track? Like, what do you think about that type?
That's a very good point, actually, because I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen an explosion of new use cases, right?
Oh, for sure.
Very frequently, you need to move to a new platform or to a new software to support all those use cases, but at the same time, you have a PKI already in place. So you have certain trust chains out there, and you have certain amounts of certificates deployed in the field. So even though you might like to move to a greenfield approach where you deploy a complete new PKI, start from scratch, it might not always be possible. So in that perspective, the bring your own key is a little different aspect, because it also means that you could actually start redeploying new sub-CAs, new issuing CAs under an existing route. So bring your own key is slightly differently meant in that context, because in that context, you just maintain your key and you start deploying new sub-CAs next to your existing infrastructure.
Yeah, that's kind of more of the architectures I've been recommending. Unless a customer wants complete control over the key, then it's really your only option to bring your own key. But otherwise, I've been a big fan of keeping your root on-prem and then just doing new sub-CAs in the cloud for those use cases.
Absolutely. I would be a fan of the same thing.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking about bringing your own key, obviously consider generating with exportable and doing that planning up front, because that can go a long way down the road. But otherwise, our pitch is go with bringing your root, or actually bringing your sub-CA, using your same root in the trust chain, and going down that path, because it's just a lot easier to maintain, I guess, for me at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.